And I get this question almost every single time. One of the countries that I would highlight at the moment is Italy. Italy is a brand, okay? It's a global brand.
All right. So good morning, everyone. Hi, team. Timur, how's it going?
Excellent. Yeah. Thank you so much, Alessandro. Good morning to you too. And I'm super happy to be on your podcast. And thanks so much for the invite.
Oh, my pleasure. So, just a brief background. I really wanted to have Tim on this podcast to have a chat, and he's one of my, I would say, you know, Twitter buddies, now ex buddies, and I always really appreciate your content. You always publish incredible pictures about European homes,
Hmm.
and you can find him actually on X. Indeed, you will find in the description of these, YouTube or whichever platform we are using, you will find all the links for connecting to Tim. And Tim, you deal with real estate in Europe. You created this
Yeah.
format of affordable European
Hmm.
housing. I'm very bullish, especially on the long term on Europe. And I'm not a real estate guy, so I'm really learning a lot from you. First of all, how did you come up with this business? And are you a real estate person?
Yeah, yeah. So basically, look, just like yourself, my background isn't in real estate. So I have a tech background. I'm based in Dublin, Ireland. I wasn't born here. I was born in Eastern Europe, but I moved to Dublin when I was 12 with my parents. So you could say I'm probably half Irish at this stage. And yeah, my background started with Microsoft, where I worked for about 5 years. Then I moved on to a few other tech startups. And then finally, for the past 9 years, I was one of the co-founders in a tech startup. We've raised, I think, about 5 million in VC money. We launched in a few different markets, but really, I would say probably in the middle of last year, I felt this kind of decision that it was the end of my journey in because I was just getting tired and fed up about this whole kind of corporate and being on a board of directors and all of that. So I knew deep down that it's time for a change, and thankfully at the time I was already passionate about real estate. So a good few years back we actually quit our jobs at Microsoft. My wife, she also worked for Microsoft, so we decided to take a break and essentially relocate to Spain. So at that time, I think the trigger was me reading the 4 Hour Work Week book by Tim Ferriss. And it was really at that time when I started to kind of understand where I suppose my personal priorities should be. Instead of, I'm sure you've heard, Alessandro, about the golden cuffs phrase, right? Which is like you have a nice, cushy job, you work for a corporate, and you get a fat bonus every year. Everything is excellent, and so on. But deep down, you're still not fully, I suppose, settled down, and you want to have a bit more freedom, and you want to do things that you love, and so on. So we decided at the time to just quit and relocate to Spain. Of course, Spain has one of the best lifestyles in the world. Probably it's almost like a global brand, right? Where everyone knows about Spanish beaches and the nice,
100%.
yeah.
Not as good as Italy, notoriously,
Of
but yeah,
course.
nobody is perfect
Of
in the end,
course, of
right?
course. For me, Italy and Spain are very close,
I'm just kidding.
right? So we relocated to Spain. We went through the whole process of finding a rental property for us to live in, and it was during that time when we decided that we want to have a property in Spain. Mainly because of all the things I've outlined, right? Like the amazing lifestyle and 300 days a year of sunshine, all the nice, amazing food, the seafood, and so on. So it was during that time that we bought our first property in Spain. Later on, we bought a property in Italy as well, in Milano. So we have some friends living there. So They had a really good deal that they knew about. Their neighbor was selling their apartment, so they called me and said, "Look, this is a really good from an investment point of view." So I bought that, later sold it. But it was during that time when I started having this interest in real estate, particularly in real estate near the Mediterranean, because it's not just an amazing lifestyle, amazing countries like Italy, Spain, France, and so on, but it's a dream. If you ask anybody at some point probably have dreamt about owning a property with nice sea views and so on, right? So it's emotionally it's super appealing, and even if probably most people can't afford it, they still like to dream and so on, right? So that's how it all started. So it started as a personal hobby, as a passion. And then I had lots of friends and family that, after we bought our property, they started coming to us and asking, hey, can you help us buy a property there, either as a holiday home or maybe as a retirement property or maybe even as an investment as well. So yeah, that's how it all started. And then in terms of AffordHome, how I made the decision to actually, start initially as a side project, because at the time I was still, involved on a full-time basis in the startup. We were actually on the beach in Lloret de Mar in Costa Brava, which is the little town that we spend our time in. And I read about a guy who launched a newsletter curating cheap houses in Japan. And those light bulb moments where you're like, wow, that's exactly what I would love to do. Now, at the time, in July of last year, I already kind of posted two of my finds. And actually, the first one was of a small, beautiful property in Sicily with amazing sea views. And it was relatively cheap as well. I think it was like 127K, right? So, which for countries like Ireland, United States, Canada, this is nothing, right? Because the property prices are crazy in these countries. And I suppose that's another kind of reason why I started looking specifically at affordable homes in other countries, because like I know firsthand that in Ireland, especially the younger generation, they're simply priced out of the property market. Like I know guys that are 40 years old and they still live with their parents, mainly because they cannot afford their own place.
No, indeed, if I just can comment very quickly, on a few points. And sorry, I told you before, but let me tell you for everyone who is listening, I'm just recovering from, I think, a sort of COVID-like, so my voice is very low, but I wanted to record this interview. So sorry for the low voice. But my point is, that's why I found your angle super interesting, because in my view, Timur, you and your wife, actually, you are in the hacking, a sector which is not meant to be in the act, but the vibe and the content, the angle is so interesting. That's why, because eventually you are in the hacking / with a tech angle, tackling this vertical where there are amazing opportunities. And also philosophically, I think more or less everyone who also went in tech, changed countries, freedom maximalist, blah blah blah, we all, in most cases, we all got priced out initially from our original context. That's, I
Yeah.
think, a common element of our generations, because I couldn't, or nobody, even if you are the best in your professional background, you can't afford, more or less, if you are coming from middle class, the same quality of the house of your parents in the same neighborhood. Because in Spain, Italy, France, or the same is in China or in the US, by the way, you will need 700, 800, 1 million, 1.2 million. And
Yeah.
with the local salaries, it's impossible.
Yeah.
So for me, how you find these gems actually from a completely different angle. It's very interesting, because the local market, you're mentioning Sicily. I'm telling you for sure, from a Roman perspective, you would never consider to buy, oh yeah, I'm going to buy 127K of house in Sicily. But that's where the opportunity lies, because no awareness, there is no even, right, for now, interest. And the cool thing, in my view, is Europe is going with, in the AI age, in the next 10, 20 years,
Yeah.
plus remote work,
Yeah.
is going to appreciate, especially off the
Mm,
grid location. Again, for
absolutely.
me, it's super
Yeah.
cool, and I wanted to ask you an opinion about these topics. If you have thought of it, or no, you are just. What's your model right now?
Yeah.
Actually,
Yeah. So essentially, and we took a good amount of time to actually settle down on the model. So we launched a newsletter. So essentially, which I'm using. So the subscribers that subscribe, essentially I'm using organic content to essentially drive subscribers and to highlight that there is this newsletter and so on. But yeah, we really took our time to understand exactly how, first of all, how to price this offering, but most importantly,
Mhm.
how should the whole model work, right? So
Mhm.
and I actually someone on Twitter reached out to me, a guy, an American, who did something similar in Argentina, and like I still can't believe that there is such amazing people that are willing to share and are willing to mentor for free. So like kudos to him. He essentially showed me everything the way he's done things. Of course I made some small tweaks and so on, but yeah, the offering is really, given that I am a SaaS guy at heart, what I did is I applied a
The
reoccurring,
SAT model.
yes, as a typical size price model to a service, right? So we have two simple packages, and the core offering is property finding services. So I'm sure some people know, but still not too many people know, is that the traditional realtor in Europe,
Mhm.
they represent the seller because that's how they're getting paid, right? They earn a commission from every single property they sell. So if you're a buyer, especially if you're a foreign buyer, let's say you're an American, Australian, Canadian, and so on, when you come to Europe and you want to buy a property, essentially the realtor will try to sell you, one of their properties. Like, so obviously because they're earning, they're representing the seller. Whereas we position ourselves as a buyer's agent. So these type of agents are more common in the States. So in the States, both parties have an agent, whereas in Europe is really only the seller. So that's, we say to all of our customers, you tell us exactly what you're looking for, what's your budget, the location, the country, the location,
Mhm.
and all of the other characteristics, if it's a house, a villa, an apartment, and so on. And then based on your exact requirements, we will find you the property. So two simple packages, basic and premium. You can cancel at any time. You subscribe to the one that suits most. The basic is basically contains, we send you a report with up to 10 property listings, again tailored to your requirements, and then we keep on doing the same month on month. Again, as I said, you can cancel at any time, or you can keep it going for as long as as required, either until we find you a property which you are kind of happy about and you say, that's it, I want to proceed with the whole, with buying process and so on. Or I simply, we have clients as well that simply want to keep an eye on the property market, what's out there, and so on. So they know they want to buy something, but they are not ready to do it right now.
And I completely get it. And to be frank, we're in similar situation where situations when sometimes it's even interesting just to keep an eye on the market
Hmm.
and assess opportunities. Maybe, hey, should I allocate in real estate assets, or should I keep in stocks or ETFs or Bitcoin or whatever else? And then even having a bit of, you know, to see what's going around, it's important to a benchmark,
Hmm.
because sometimes you are in one region and you see the price only in that region. So I can definitely see the appeal. Out of curiosity, say that I become a subscriber,
Yeah.
and after a few months or weeks, there is something that is my fit, and I tell you, hey, Tim, I want to buy. Well, I want to do a visit and due diligence. After everything is right, I like it. Okay, I'm sure I want to buy it. In that
Yeah.
case, do you will charge also the typical brokerage fee?
Yes, but not the buyer. So what we do is, so let's say we found the property that you as a
Mhm.
customer you like, and you say, look, I want to start the buying process and so on. So what we do then, if you require this, what we would do is we would then put you in touch with experts from our network, because as I'm sure you know, you would need a lawyer to draft all the contracts. You would need a notary. You might need, I don't know, a visa advisor, for example. And so essentially, one of the things that I was focusing on from day one is, so getting clients might not be the hardest part, but actually building a community and network of highly trusted and experienced experts that I can then leverage to help my client support them, not just in finding a property, but also throughout the whole buying process. So we've had clients that wanted us to come and fly in with them and meet with them and essentially organize all the viewings and be essentially the voice, act as an advisor throughout the process. So obviously this will require an additional charge and so on, but we offer this type of services as well. We've had clients where essentially they didn't even want to fly in. They simply wanted to buy a property online, and that's also possible. Like, I couldn't really understand, like, for me, I have to see the place, I have to see the neighborhood and so on. But there are people that that have done this multiple times, and essentially, yeah, they're willing to do it online as well. Um,
No, that's super good because correct me if I'm wrong, but what I see typically as a customer, essentially of in general the real estate industry is every time with intermediaries it's a bit challenging because they may be the ultimate specialist in that specific city
mhm.
or sometimes even in that specific neighborhood
Yeah,
of one city.
yeah.
But I think your customers, our network, essentially sometimes it's not even maybe they are considering, hey, should I get exposure to, I don't know, Sicily for maybe I want to rent it the rest of the year, but
Hmm.
I want to spend 2 weeks there, or I want to retire there. But at the same time, why not Andalusia or why
Yeah.
not south of France? So it's a different angle. It's not just, I guess, hey, I want to buy an house in Paris
Hmm.
because I need it. It's more probably a different need. So that's probably why you frame this offering in these terms.
Yeah.
Am I correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, as you know, in some cases with clients, sometimes the people don't even know what they want, right? So it's also a process
Yeah.
of trying to understand what are I suppose, the main criteria, and then help them come to a decision. Like, we are working with a couple from Florida at the moment, and initially they wanted in Milano. They wanted to buy a property in Milano, mainly because the wife likes to travel to
Mm.
Milano for shopping and so on. And then we said, well, why Milano? Why have you been to Tuscany? There's actually, because we saw that the requirements, they wanted a farmhouse or like an older house and so on. So we said, look, Tuscany is full of those, Umbria is full of those, and so on. And then the wife was like, "Oh, I've been to Tuscany and I loved it there. You know what? We'd like to expand our search to that region as well." So it's also a matter of understanding on a high level what are the priorities and where your customer is coming from, and then be in a position of actually helping them make a decision and giving them all the
Can I
tools and information as well.
can I ask you randomly?
Yeah.
Say that I have, I don't know, between 250 and 350K
Hmm.
US dollars. I'm sorry, and I want to get a place again, maybe South Europe, but up to you. What would be the top, five regions that, in your view, they can be good investments right now?
Yeah, so I would probably highlight, and I get this question, almost every single time, and definitely, the one of the countries that I would highlight at the moment is Italy. Now,
It's very strange. Actually, Italy has terrible food, very bad culture,
yeah,
terrible weather. People are unfriendly.
yeah.
I don't know why you're mentioning Italy.
I think you meant the best food in the world. uh,
Look, I always make fun of this because as you know, in an international family,
yeah,
and all my friends are from all around the world. But I have to say, yeah, Italian food is unbeatable. It's a piece of art,
yeah,
right? It should be preserved as human heritage. I think, yeah.
100%. As a UNESCO
Absolutely.
UNESCO protected, what do you call it?
I
Like
think
a yeah,
I think, every time someone in the world even mention pasta, gricia, matriciana,
yeah,
they should pay trademark rights to the Italian government. Just kidding.
yeah.
I'm just kidding, of course. So,
I'm glad
no,
that you weren't serious when you said that Italian food is the worst. So okay, I can now relax a bit. Look, Italy is, if we take it like, Italy is a brand, okay? It's a global brand, all right. And if we look at the few things that we mentioned now, the food, the amazing history, architecture, and so on, right? So this is one thing. Second thing is, in terms of the global visitors and tourists, okay? So Italy, the number of tourists visiting Italy just keeps on growing year on year. Of course, there's bad things to this, and we've all seen videos on social media about many tourists visiting places like Como and so on. So it's like I've been to some of these places, and it's sometimes it's impossible to even find a place at a restaurant, and even to walk on the footpath, right? It's like it's so busy, but it's still. I mean, if you're looking from an investment point of view, obviously having a lot of tourists and so on is a big plus. And then specifically, if we zone in into the region, because you asked me, like, in terms of the region, because Italy is obviously is big. So places like Sicily is becoming more and more, on the map at the moment. So again, lots of tourism, infrastructure. There is a lot of the government are actually investing a lot in improving the infrastructure, because the south of Italy is obviously historically deemed as the poorer. The poorer part, right? Which is, I think it's kind of similar in most countries. So the north is kind of richer, and the south is poorer. But yeah, a lot of investment are being made into infrastructure, into fiber internet, and so on. And I hear quite a lot of good things from my clients who have bought in Sicily, who have lived in Sicily, and so on. Puglia is another region as well, which is super interesting from a real estate buying point of view. There is a growing expat, English-speaking expat in Puglia and Sicily as well. And at the same time, you have still relatively cheap real estate prices. So this would be my personal advice in terms of, if I were to choose one specific country at the moment where you have, and Italy still, when you compare it to the likes of Portugal and Spain, for example, like the biggest issues in terms of real estate in Spain and Portugal is that there is not a lot of supply, right? And that's why we're seeing in Spain a lot of the locals protesting that there's not enough housing for the locals. So we're seeing the Spanish government introducing more strict regulations in terms of short-term rentals, in terms of new licenses, tourist licenses being, I think they froze them, they banned them for 2 years, and so on.
Mhm.
So in Italy, you don't have this problem yet. Okay, so I think there is 20,000 plus properties, especially in places in more remote
Of course,
places, right? And
of course.
and one of the things that also made me start AffordHome is really this passion about trying to promote uh, people and families moving out of the cities into more rural.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've seen the €1 homes in Sicily, in Sardinia, which proved super successful, right? I
Can I
think,
tell you?
yeah,
Can I tell you a
yeah,
story? Because I think this really fits well with the direction you're going towards too. So I left Italy almost 10 years ago. So
mm,
at this point, I'm really not that related, but this is a totally different story. And sometimes, I mean, almost every weekend, my parents sent me incredible pictures of incredible, food
mm,
like for lunch, etc. And because of my surname, essentially, we have a small, let's call it. Country house
mm-hmm,
in proximity of Rome, in a specific region which is not famous to be for being elegant. So
mm-hmm,
you would never say, "Hey, I'm going there this
yeah,
weekend." Why?
yeah,
Because it wouldn't be perceived as elegant. And for many years, typically, if you're in the center of Rome, you don't even want to say that you have this kind of house there because it's uncool. Okay.
mm-hmm,
Now, guess what? Over the past 20 or 10 years, the area I'm referring to, which is in general il Frosinate or Frosinone and neighborhood,
mm-hmm,
um, actually has an incredible quality of life. With 20 euros, till now you have the
yeah,
best food ever. It's very calm, peaceful, and to be frank, from an external perspective, because at this point I been all around the world
mm,
and so far and so on, it is growing in me. So what I'm trying to express is sometimes, especially this is valid for Italy, we have an incredible, I would say, hidden
mm-hmm,
treasury in terms of cultural places in less famous or less posh areas.
mm-hmm,
So, of course, if you want to go in August in Venice or buy in Venice, there is going to be a problem in terms of supply.
yeah,
But you're correctly pointing out Sicily, Puglia, you can find the remote regions with incredible good deals. And most importantly, the locals will love you because you're bringing money,
yeah,
wealth, interest. You are supporting the local activities, the
mm-hmm,
local businesses. So this is so true. And I completely agree also with your analysis in terms of limitation of supply. Portugal is another example. Portugal skyrocketed
mm,
too much eventually
yeah,
because of limited supply, not caused by investments from foreigners, but because the country, unfortunately, since 2018, hasn't been able to recover in terms of capacity of producing
mm, yeah,
new houses. So in Italy, there is not the case. So I completely agree with you, and it's win-win for everyone. So I really appreciate the angle, and I can tell you, although I'm not living in Italy for so long, but from an Italian perspective, I really appreciate how you select some gems, and that's why I really find your account so interesting. To be frank, because um, even an Italian wouldn't know
yeah.
where to find these things, and up to you to close your point. Sorry, and then I have a question.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, you've hit the nail on the head, right? So it's because like it would have been a lot easier for me to just focus on higher end properties, right? Because they're so like yeah, 1 million plus. It's so much easier. But it's this fact, as you pointed out, of actually finding those gems in in regions which are relatively remote but also close to bigger towns, to being close to all different amenities which us humans need, like medical care, schools, and so on. And that's kind of the top attributes that I keep in my mind every time I post something, every time I look for something, and so on.
And Tim, out of curiosity, say that whoever is listening, you can subscribe newsletter of Tim.
Yeah.
Super cool. The X is objectively is even if you don't want to buy for me it's entertainment, so I really enjoy it. That's why I'm
Thank you.
very excited to be here. My kind of question is, um, what would you say, what would you tell to be eventually the expected ROI? Say that you want to buy this small villa in Sicily. How? What should be the mindset of someone interested in that?
Hmm.
Should this be an investment mindset, such as, okay, I'm going to do 6-7% via renting, and if
Hmm.
so, who is going to do it? Is it on me, the hovered, or no? I just buy it and then maybe who know, I just use it by myself and I wait for appreciation of the asset per se.
Yeah.
What's the of gameplay here?
I suppose it depends on the type of client, right? And what. So we have clients of, I suppose, with different mindsets. So we have someone that is looking to buy an olive farm in Spain. We have someone that wants to buy a number of properties, between five to
Excellent.
seven in different regions. Obviously, from this person is an investor, so he wants some really unique properties in amazing places like Mallorca, Ibiza, Sicily,
Mm,
Sardinia, so beautiful places with nice views and so on. So for them, obviously, it would be, a lot more important the ROI they can get, the local short-term rental regulations, the best management property companies who would actually run these properties for them, because obviously it's not something that they'd be able to do and so on. So it's really up to the client. So we work with everybody, and really, I mean, personally, the way I would view this is, again, it's just a personal preference, but really buying in a place where it might not be really developed at the moment, but if you see strong signs that the government are investing, as I mentioned, we specifically mentioned Sicily. Like I'm also reading. I try to keep myself educated in terms of what the government's perspective is in terms of foreign investment, right? So we know, I think everybody knows about the Prime Minister's Meloni, how she is pro foreign investment, how she prioritizes, making it easier for money to come into the country and so on. So yeah, I think probably that's how I approach these things, right? So that's why I think Italy is super appealing at the moment. And then obviously, if the government is making, effort to actually improve a certain area, then obviously the property will appreciate in 10 years' time. So it's a good time to invest in, right, at the moment. So yeah, it's really down to each client preferences and what their objective is. But yeah, now having said that, again, we highlighted Italy a lot, but there is still Spain. There is still value in Spain. So places like the towns near Valencia. So Valencia at the moment is actually becoming probably the go-to place in Spain. So historically, Malaga has seen a big influx. I think Malaga is deemed to
mm.
be the number one expat kind of area, right? But with Malaga now, is what we're seeing is obviously because of such a high demand over a good number of years. So the prices have skyrocketed. The local like the local what do you call it? Not the uh, so the people that manage
Mm.
the government, local government, right? What do you call them?
Municipality.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. So they have their own specific regulations for Malaga. That's another thing about
Ah,
Spain is you don't just have national regulations, but you have local regulations as well, and they all
I
differ
see. I see.
between each kind of town and so on. So that's another thing that we try and do through our service is that everyone is so one of the other most common questions I get from clients is, yeah, but Italy is notorious for being bureaucratic and everything is so slow there. Oh, no way. I don't, I wouldn't even want to start a business or buy a property. Well, yes, I'm not arguing that point. Yes, it is. It can be slower when you compare it to United States, for example, right? There is a lot more kind of regulations involved and so on. But I think the key here is having the right experts around you and knowing exactly, who to approach and so on. And that's another thing that we offer to our clients. So having a trusted, person who will have your back, who will help you navigate throughout this whole process and so on.
100%. Also, the key, also probably you were hinting to this point, but let me emphasize it. Especially for Europe, every town, every municipality may have its own rules.
Mm.
So you can find the highly inefficient or the less inefficient, and in both cases you need to have the local,
Yeah.
point of reference. No, I agree. So interesting. So Spain, but maybe more Valencia
Yes.
adjacent area, Puglia, Sicily for Italy, and anything like perhaps Greece
Yeah,
or
so
Portugal?
Greece, actually Greece was one of, because at the moment through our newsletter we focus on four countries, so Italy, Spain, Portugal, and France. But
Oh, France.
yeah,
Okay.
in the early days we actually we had Greece instead of Portugal. But then after a couple of months, we replaced the two countries mainly because the subscribers were more interested in Portugal. You know a lot more about Portugal in terms of how easy it is to get the golden visa and that how it's the quickest path to European citizenship at the moment, right? So obviously there is a lot more interest in Portugal. So this was the reason why we kind of started.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the fact is, geopolitically and strategically, in the end, Greece, Spain, Italy, they are kind of, either you want to spend your holiday there
Hmm.
and you're fine, but if you are there for kind of acquiring citizenship, etc., it's inevitable that you need to, for many years, live in the country,
Mm.
7, 8, 10, depending on which country we're talking of. So it's a long-term commitment, fiscal residency there. So Portugal is the exception in Europe, which there is a regime of flexibility, but it's a bureaucratic country. So they give you the option in substance to either leave or invest,
Yeah.
depending on if you want to get residency, or residency and citizenship, a golden visa. And at the same time, they allow you to they give you a sort of benefit of
Yeah.
neutrality. So it's like if they're telling you, hey, you can still even live here with the fishy regime, previously NHR, we still don't tax you abroad as long as you, and they give you some
Yeah.
conditions. So this is the difference in terms of mindset and legislation. And I totally agree. But at the same time, for investment purposes for real estate and for spending a few weeks per year, Italy, in the end, Portugal is a smaller country, Italy is a critical mass. So, and I wanted to add this point on yours, which is, you know, even historically, Italy is a relatively young country,
Mm.
because before in 71, it was a series of different, regions and cities. So historically, every region and city has so much culture
Yeah.
and many traditions.
Yeah.
So this means that, compared to other countries, where if you go in the small town in Wyoming, okay, eventually you
Yeah.
you won't find something super interesting, or maybe the best restaurant necessarily, because the good probably entrepreneurs in food, they moved to, I don't know, New York.
Yeah.
In Italy, it's not necessarily so, because
Mm.
you can find maybe a Michelin star restaurant, or the family run restaurant, or whatever activity, with super high quality
Yeah.
in a small town.
Yeah.
So this is the uniqueness, in my view, that probably, makes sense for you to
Yeah.
have on the table the Italian option.
And
Mm,
that's the whole beauty of the appeal in terms of Italy. That's what's attracting people, right? Is
mm.
actually having access to, as you described, like every little town has different different, there's some traditions that differ. The food is in different as
It,
well, and so on. So
it's a library with infinite books. You will
absolutely,
never get bored,
absolutely,
because you can always find a new
yeah.
one, and then it's incredible. But no, and congrats, Tim. Also, sometimes when you see these activities from you and your wife to also for citizenship, it's a family business as
Mm.
well. So it's nice to see this kind of co-commitment, and in my view, it's paying back very well. Do you mind to share something about your growth in terms of whatever metric you want to
Yeah,
share?
sure. In terms of the newsletter, so we have about almost 12,000 and a half subscribers. So as I said, they all, like, we haven't used any paid ads. like all of these people came 100% from Organically and from the content that I post mainly on X. In terms of then revenue, so we've actually we launched the property finding service. We launched I think back in March of this year. Sorry, did you want to ask something?
Up to feel free to share what you feel.
Sure,
No pressure. I
sure.
was just asking out of curiosity.
Yeah, and we have 12 customers at the moment that we work with. So who are subscribed to one of the packages and who we are searching or hunting for the properties basically. And yeah, we have some really nice plans as well. So we will eventually launch probably towards of the summer, maybe around September, October. So we're thinking of launching a course of actually buying property course. So, essentially just to like the whole end-to-end process of buying a property in a specific country. So the plan is to actually invite some experts, for example, an architect, maybe a notary, maybe a lawyer, who would essentially, explain the whole legalities and the whole process from their point of view. And then we've actually had quite a few subscribers reach out and expressing their interest for property tours, right? So this is almost like combining leisure and the touristy kind of thing with actually business, which is the people coming over to a specific country, a specific town. We would meet them. We would organize the whole, maybe over 5-6 days, and essentially take 1 or 2 days to organize and see a few properties. Maybe another day to actually explain the whole process, for them to get to meet with some experts as well. And then the remaining is just, I don't know, visiting some nice restaurants, having some nice food, and I suppose experience some of that culture in that specific town where they're interested in buying properties. So I think this would really resonate because it's more kind of personal. It's more as well because not everybody is ready to buy a property online, right? Having even visited the place and so on. Like buying a property is quite a big thing. So
if I can tell you my personal angle, you know why I really like the initiative, because eventually we will be one day customers also for diversifying, okay, and the interesting part is that there are local. It's not easy for anyone, even in their 30s or 40s, even if experienced in real estate, to do the right investment decisions on a smaller scale. Because if you want to do the big operation, 5-10 million plus, 15 million plus in the top-notch area, in the ultra premium area, that's it, quote unquote easy, because you know that there will be always demand, etc. But for anything else, you never know where the market is going, where even the sentiment is evolving towards to. And in this case, in my view, the AffordHome community, first, I assume it's a bit techy, or at least tech adjacent. And all of us, we have the same needs, same mindset.
Yeah.
So if I like something, I'm pretty sure other 100 guys, more or less in tech or adjacent things, they will have the same kind of sentiment. So this is a sort of pre-validation and substantially we are kind of early adopters of something, and if we all generate consensus about we appreciate this area, this kind of bet, well, we know that we won't die necessarily with this asset in our hands and we will want to buy. So that's also the angle in my view, which is in my view it's very interesting for anyone participating, because collectively we increase the chances of also satisfaction.
Absolutely.
Perspective, right?
Yeah. No, exactly. I suppose in terms of, just to go back in terms of our long-term plans and how we see this evolving. So at the moment we have 2 weekly editions of the newsletter. So every Wednesday we send out an email with properties of up to 350K. And then every Friday we send properties of up to 50K. So the plan is, however, the finding services, there is no really max or minimum budget, right? So we have clients that their budget is 1 million, 1.5 million. So it's not like we only focus on the affordable homes, which is 50K, 100K, and so on. So we will keep the focus, the onus on affordable homes, because that's how it all started, and that's what we are passionate about. But I suppose one of the biggest highlights is, in terms of our surprise and how things have evolved, is how much interest we've seen and we've received from people with bigger budgets.
But indeed, Tim, if I can say, you should keep the affordable,
Yes.
the afford, prefix, but then it should become affordable castles. Okay,
Yeah.
it's still affordable, but then let's shoot for,
Absolutely. Yeah.
for
Yeah.
affordable castles, affordable penthouses. Why not?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
affordable, 50 meters yachts, but still affordable Rolls Royce. Why not?
Yeah.
No,
Of
but
course.
it
Yeah.
could be
Uh,
the afford the castles,
yeah.
because maybe it's more representative of the spirit, or of the arbitrage
Hmm.
that you can get. And it's already it's very interesting. That's why I wanted to have you here, and my audience also is somehow interested in all these topics. So
Hmm.
I'm pretty sure they will find these angles also interesting, because um, uh, AI, tech,
Yeah.
quantum computing, there will be technology is always a matter of cycles,
Hmm.
like of capital investment, disruption, and then wave after wave from silicon, internet, mobile, e-commerce, la la la. So, but real estate is going to in any case to stay, and
Yeah.
in my view, Europe as a region, because eventually of all the problems eventually and challenges it has, it will appreciate. So,
Absolutely. Yeah.
I and if not, still for lifestyle, the place where 80% of people that will make it with in the high
Yeah.
age driven economy, they will want to spend time. So it's a
100%. Yeah. I mean, every single human, right? They like, it's one thing to have a business, to work, to make money, and so on. But then you want to spend that money for, for something that you enjoy, and so on. And what's
team,
better than, sorry.
team when after you sell the next 50 whatever affordable homes or 5 castles, etc., where do you think I will come visiting you? What is your which is going to be your final destination that you are thinking of moving there one day?
Yeah, well, we actually, so at the moment we live between Dublin and Spain. So
Mhm.
Lloret de Mar, which is about 1 hour drive from Barcelona. And in the near future, probably in about a year, we will relocate back to Spain. At the moment, it's just, the kids is probably the only thing that's holding us back, because they're still
Ah,
going to
right,
school
right,
here in Dublin, and we really don't want to disrupt them, at the moment. So we're just waiting for our son to finish primary school, and then we would relocate back. But yeah, essentially, I've had lots of people ask me, why Spain, why not Portugal? Because Portugal is, in terms of taxes and everything else, is a bit better than Spain. But it's a personal preference, and it's Spain is where we feel ourselves at home. I mean, we've lived there for 2 years already. Our kids went to school there, and so on. So and we spend a considerable amount of time every year there as well. And it's not just a matter. There is this argument as well from the locals that, I'm sure you've heard this as well. Oh, you foreigners come and you just, steal our homes and so on,
Mhm.
right? But for us, it's really a matter of integrating into the community. Like, all of us in my household, we speak Spanish, and we keep on learning the language and so on. So it's, for us, it's, we feel as we've already integrated into the community, and essentially are also doing our best to bring something back and give something back as well. So yeah, that's kind of the plan for us. And then at the end of the day, you have to do what you preach. So it's like, it's also something that we need to be based there as well, because it's simply it's easier to meet with clients, and to because now every time we have a meeting, we have to fly, to the continent and meet with them there. So it's kind of, logistically is a bit harder.
Makes perfectly sense, and it's I mean, we are commenting among the most beautiful, I would say, areas of the world.
Mm,
So then you can't essentially go wrong when
yes,
with them, and it's amazing. Tim, I mean, very very nice to have this chat with you, and I hope to have you, anytime soon. And I'm happy to cooperate, do stuff together, and
awesome.
I'm sure everybody appreciate this interview. Uh, what else? I think everyone, even just for fun and to have some nice pictures on their screen every now and then, you should follow Timur and AffordHome, or if your budget is higher, the soon to come Afford the castles and penthouses
Yeah.
or anything else actually. So,
Yeah, we
um,
cater for any client needs basically. So yeah, feel free to drop me a DM, visit AffordHome.com as well. And we're actually working on a proper website because we still, believe it or not, we still don't have like a proper website, right? It's just a landing
but that's
page for the newsletter.
the take your time.
Yeah.
That's the best sign of success. I always say so.
Yeah.
Now, there are fantastic websites and zero
Mm,
users, and then usually the things with real traction, you don't even have time to if you are things that work, sometimes they don't need for makeups
yeah.
or additional things, and sometimes that's maybe the vibe that people
Mm,
appreciate more, more genuine things rather than overbuilt and so far. And in my view,
exactly.
that's the
Yeah.
one of the secret recipes of your formula, because you can really feel the person
Mm,
and you're not a real estate agent with all the due respect, which is this entails that you bring in a you are the customer of your own
yeah.
apartments, no, and you are in target with people maybe in tech. So it's but of course, I mean, looking forward to have the beautiful website. I'm not trying to
Yeah.
tell you don't do it.
No, absolutely. So that was our plan all along. First, focus on the customers and on helping your customers and so on, and then everything else will come. Uh, so yeah, thank you so much, Alessandro. It's been a pleasure, and I hope the next session or the next pod we record, let's do it in person, maybe somewhere maybe in your hometown in Italy, where we could go and actually view a few nice places. So yeah, why not?
Why not? Why not? Actually, perfectly possible, and I look forward to to do so either in Italy or why not? We're going to visit Spain this summer, and we're also constantly traveling for work, but we're trying to take 10 days for ourselves,
Hmm.
and or for sure, if you stop by in Portugal, we this is where I record more often the podcast.
Yeah.
So very much looking forward to it, and thanks again for being with me today.
Thanks so
Uh,
much. Appreciate it. It's been an
Grazie.
amazing chat. Thanks, Alessandro.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks.
Ciao, Timur.
Bye, bye,
Bye,
bye, bye, bye,
everyone.
bye.